What's up, fight fans? It's the TSD Alyas here, back again with another banger. I'm here with my boy Nate Marrero because today we have the first ever TSD boxing show, and we're doing the Canelo versus Crawford post-fight show. Nate, how you feeling after this long, long card?
Back like a bad habit, and I am very tired. Very, very tired. That was Dana White said he wanted to speed it up. It's kind of like keep things flowing and go quickly. And when all four fights on the main card go to decisions, kind of hard to do that. So it was a good card, though. I mean, can't really complain. And we witnessed history, and it was great stuff.
You know what's crazy is just like I'm thinking to myself, like, who thought it was a good idea to start this card at 9 p.m. knowing that we have
Yeah.
knowing that we have four or three 10 round fights and one 12 round fight. This has been like honestly, if you watch from the prelims, this was the longest boxing card probably like
Oh my
in the
God.
last 5 years, like
Yeah,
guaranteed. Like
that
this
took.
was rough, but it was all worth it for the main event because
Mhm.
Terence Bud Crawford made history, defeating Canelo Alvarez to become the undisputed super middleweight champion, the first boxer ever to become undisputed in three weight classes, not just in the four belt era, but just in general. Nate, give me your initial thoughts on this performance.
Just it was very fitting of like who he is. Like he's the best fighter of this era, and just he was masterful. He was able to pick his spots. He knew when to move. He knew when to go after Canelo, and it was just a great performance. And just that camp is just when you give them that much time to prepare, and like they're gonna like there was never a doubt if he was gonna be ready. It was just a matter of like could his body like hold up? Could he withstand everything that Canelo could bring, and he did that and then some. I mean, it was pretty clear, 7-5, 8-4, and that's what the three judges had it, and just all time great stuff. I'm just kind of like lost for words. Like we are blessed to be living in the same era as Terence Crawford.
Yeah, absolutely. And the biggest thing about this was, we were texting in between the fights, and it was really, really, we had it 5-5 going into championship rounds.
Mhm.
And dude, it was crazy. It was crazy. We were like, whoever wins rounds 11 and 12 wins the fight. And Bud really put on the pressure. Bud really put respect on the inside game. He made sure Canelo respect his punching power, moved well around the ring, really had Canelo just chasing him. Canelo's known for forward pressure, but it really looked like he was kind of chasing him with a sense of urgency to try to get some shots off. And Bud just, the boxing IQ of him was, out of this world throughout this whole fight. Not only just jumping up 14 pounds, but to be able to just move around the ring, outbox him for 36 minutes. It was honestly, I honestly think this was it's hard to say. It might be recency bias, but this might be his best performance of his career.
I would say so, just given the stakes, moving up 14 pounds, even if it's not like in his prime, Canelo, I would say that, this was because looking back at the Errol Spence fight, it definitely felt like it didn't feel like there was the same version of Errol Spence as the one who ran through the welterweight division. But yeah, I was just given the stakes, the circumstances, he was up against Canelo. And I mean, he just rose to the occasion as he has his whole career. And
I,
this was his best feat yet.
I'm not gonna lie to you. I'm not going to let you discredit Earl Spence Jr. just because Terrence Crawford beat the guy who literally
Mhm.
steamrolled through like literally three champions to become unified at welterweight. And Terrence beat that guy, even
Yeah,
accident or not. He beat
he
that guy, and he
dominated
beat
him.
him.
Yeah,
He dominated him. So I wouldn't discredit that win because it really did silence me. I mean, you're talking about Errol, who still beat Danny Garcia and Jordanis Ugas like handily.
mhm.
But
After
this
the car
fight,
accident.
yeah, after. But this fight right here, I mean, think about it. I mean, yes, Canelo lost twice, obviously, to Dimitri Bivol and Floyd Mayweather. But in this fight, Terrence Crawford was the underdog for the first time in like it just feels like for the first time in a while or the first time in his career. And the way that he was able to adjust, not only just being the smaller fighter, but jumping up two weight classes, 14 pounds against a guy who has dominated the division for the past 5 years, became undisputed twice in the division in his reign of terror. To be able to do that is crazy. And Max Kellerman said it best, man. He is literally the greatest boxer of our generation. Like, the 2010s, Floyd Mayweather was that. The 90s, Roy Jones Jr., you know, Sugar Ray Robinson in the 60s. This right here, I mean, there's no more debate, no more doubt about the legacy of Terence Crawford, and I kind of want to segue into that because what really is the legacy of Terence Crawford if we just look at it as a whole, not just in this generation, but in boxing period.
I mean, he's the best. I mean, he's like quite clearly the best. Like when he looked like he went from weight class to weight class, and like he left no doubt either. Like he stopped Julius Ndongo to become undisputed junior welterweight champion. He dominated Errol Spence and stopped him to become undisputed welterweight champion. And he moves up all the way up to 168, and he handedly beats Canelo. Close fight, but it was clear that Crawford had won. And I mean, just his legacy is that whenever his best was needed, he brought his best and then some, and he left no doubt, which is rare in boxing. There's a lot of guys where you can kind of like poke and pry, like, oh, well, maybe he lost this fight, maybe this, maybe that. There's none of that with Crawford. Like he is number one, like with the bullet, for the fighters of his era.
Yeah, I feel like the legacy and career of Terence Crawford is gonna go down in a freaking award-winning documentary
Hmm.
when it's all said and done. Whenever he retires, it's gonna go down a documentary because the narrative about his career was always who has he beat? Who has he beat? You talk about the Julius Ndongo, undisputed junior welterweight win. No one really knew who Ndongo was,
Yeah.
even as a unified champion. His run at welterweight. Even going up to the Errol Spence fight, they were like, well, who had he beat? Because all the guys at the top of 147 were PBC, and Spence was beating them, and they really didn't give Bud the credit, including me. Going into the Bud Spence fight, I had Spence, and he proved me wrong, and I had to eat my words. And then even like going into this fight, everybody was talking about, oh, he struggled with Israel Madrimov. Like he was having trouble with Israel Madrimov, a guy who had 10 pro fights to his name up to that time. How could he jump up to 168 pounds right after jumping up to 154 pounds? Again, I said that too. But then as I kept talking to people, as I kept interviewing boxers and, just people around and kept just watching film, I just realized like, sometimes the better boxer just wins.
Mhm.
Sometimes, skills do pay the bills. And Terence Crawford is, you know, people had to realize, I think, after the Errol Spence fight, is that he's arguably the smartest mind in boxing. The way that he's able to adjust to patterns, the way that he's just able to, time everything so quickly, the counter punching, the speed, the quickness, the way that he's able to move, the way that he's able to adapt to any style. I think Terence Bud Crawford is arguably, has to be like, he's getting close to, top 15, top 10. Just it depends. It really depends on how you see it. But like if he were to end his career on this win, the the third biggest fight or the third highest grossing fight in combat sports history, if he would have ended here, his legacy is set, man.
Oh yeah, that's definitely set, and I agree. He's definitely probably like around like top 15, top 20. Which I mean, boxing's been around for so long. Like that's still like a compliment, And he's just he's so skilled, and he can beat you in any way. And he can do it out of orthodox, southpaw. He can go after you. He can outbox you. Like there's so many layers to his game, and he blended it so well tonight.
Yeah, and like I said earlier, like undisputed at three weight divisions in the four belt era.
And he
You
skipped
know,
one. He didn't even go up to middleweight. He
and
just
that's what I'm
completely
saying.
bypassed that.
That's what I'm saying. And the crazy thing is that he's fought six times, or was it 5 times in 5 years? He fights once a year.
Something like that. Yeah, it
It's
was like
insane.
13 months. It
You
had
know,
been 13 months since the Madrimov fight.
it's crazy because as the older you get, a lot of people, emphasize inactivity. As you get older, inactivity is going to be, the downfall to a lot of people's career. And Terence Bud Crawford is the real outlier. Real preparation, real game plan, real strategy. Bulking up to 168 pounds for a whole calendar year, it definitely paid off because, like, dude, he looked good at super middleweight. He looked good. He looked like he belonged there. Like, dude, Canelo, he manhandled Canelo like a couple times in the clinch, and I was like, oh my gosh,
Mhm.
like this guy's too strong. This guy can adapt to anything. He's like a chameleon, man. But yeah, I think that segues me because we've talked about his Terence Crawford's legacy, but we got to talk about Canelo's because for the past decade, he has been the cash cow of boxing. He has been the guy that draws the most seats. Been the marquee name in boxing, and this fight right here, he already took a loss to Dimitri Bivol back in 2022, but this one feels different. So I'm going to ask you, Nate, is this the end of the Canelo era?
I would say I kind of felt like we've kind of been like slowly like fading out of it since the Bivol loss. Just when you look at like who he's faced, you could have fought David Benavidez. There were some tough guys that you could have potentially fought, and he kind of like fought guys who hadn't fought 168 before. So I feel like if anything, this is kind of like the final like exclamation for like this like cements it. He's still like one of the best fighters of this era. He's still great. Like I don't want to sound like a hater, but like when you look at who he's faced since the loss to Bivol, it's like it had been guys that you expect him to win, and they all follow the same pattern. Canelo would take control, and like by the midway point, it would kind of like just coast to the end of the fight. And he ran into a guy in Crawford who was having none of that. Crawford showed up to win, and yeah. So I would say I would say we are at the end of it after tonight.
Yeah, I would have to agree. Now, I think, it was like a slow, but, this was the exclamation point to the end, just because,
Mhm.
this fight was really the personification of just the decline of Canelo's,
Yeah.
all of like Canelo's like kind of bad habits, you know what I mean? The bad habits that he kind of implemented, starting with the Triple G, third fight where he was kind of very selective with his shots, the lack of head movement, constantly
Mhm.
just chasing, but not using his his defense or anything. He was very selective, not throwing a lot of volume. And now he fought a guy who was able to kind of neutralize that and you know even though he fought with a sense of urgency, the Canelo from 2016 to 2018 would have really adapted well in that fight. But it just seems like, after 70 plus fights, that guy's not here anymore. It's just a different version of Canelo, which is all right. That is all right.
Yeah.
His legacy is set. But I think now, even with like right now he's kind of on the twilight of his career, and
Yeah.
not in a sense of like he's gonna lose more or anything like that, but he's just not boxing's biggest name anymore.
Yeah.
We're entering an era with Riyadh season, Zuffa boxing, all that, where they're gonna start creating stars. We got a whole bunch of big super fights that are kind of overshadowing the names now. That I feel like these cards are kind of overshadowing the names just because they're being so stacked. And Canelo was kind of the last piece of that old era where the name really drew the event. And
Yeah.
I mean, and not only that, he just lost to Bud, man. He lost to another pound. It was pound for pound great versus pound for pound great. And he
Yeah.
just lost to a pound for pound great. And although it wasn't a as bad as a loss as the Bivol fight, it was kind of the passing of the torch in a way. Not
Yeah.
to Bud though,
Well,
but to the next era of boxing.
mhm. Yeah. Um,
But
it was just kind of befuddling to me. It didn't like. It felt like the fight was up for grabs, and like he just never really like stepped on the gas. It felt like he was kind of content, like just kind of like letting the fight go, like with the pattern it was going. That was just weird to me. But
I do
yeah.
want to get to this comment. Shout out to my boy Jonathan Ramla Khan with Fight Bananas, man. He was talking about Terence Bud Crawford's path, and I forgot to read this. He says it reminds him of Leon Edwards' path into the UFC because Leon Edwards had that long winning streak, but it was against a lot of guys who really like weren't like the top echelon of 170 pounds. And so when he came up against Kamaru Usman, he really defied the odds, even when he was kind of dominated. So, I like that analogy. If you need to really know about MMA knowledge, or if you need any MMA content, you gotta talk to Jonathan Ramlicon. That man is a beast, man. But we gotta get back to our regularly scheduled program, man, because the next question I have is, What's next for Canelo and Crawford? We can go with Crawford first since he was the winner, but what's next? Obviously, Crawford is 37. Canelo's 35, coming off this loss. What's next for Terence Crawford?
If I were Crawford, I'd just retire. It's like very rarely do you get like happy, like do you like right off into the sunset on a high note. And I don't know like how you can one up this. He fought basically in enemy territory against the biggest star in boxing, and he won clean. Like, so it's like, how can you do one better than that? And that's how. If I were Crawford, that's what I would do. If I'm Canelo, it's a tough spot. 'Cause it's like
He's
if
in
I'm
a
him,
really interesting spot because it's
because
like
he
he might
shouldn't be.
want. I
Sorry, go
don't
ahead.
know, dude. I don't know. I just don't think like it's complicated. It's the most complicated thing because
Yeah,
all roads kind of lead towards like kind of hanging it up, but like the way that he said that his answers in the post fight interview really said that he's not ready to retire. It really
yeah,
said that like he still has a go, but where does he have a go? Does he stay at 168? Does he move up to 175, which I don't think at this point in his career is the best idea.
yeah.
I just I don't know. Like I guess since we're on the topic of Canelo right now, I honestly think I think he should just retire. I think,
Yeah.
dude, he doesn't have anything else to prove.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, Again, first ever super middleweight champion, first ever two-time super middleweight champion. The run that he went on from 2020 to 2021, that first run to become undisputed was honestly phenomenal. I think it was
Hmm.
one of the
Yeah.
best runs, and it really solidified him as the face of boxing. Even like the late 2010s domination,
Yeah.
his trilogy with Triple G, 1 and 2 were great. Number 3 we don't really talk about,
Yeah. Doesn't really count.
but dude, I think honestly, to answer this question, both of them should retire, man. Like, why not? Like, you guys just had the biggest fight of the 2020s. Like, hands
Yeah.
down, the biggest fight that will ever happen in the 2020s. You guys, it was a close enough fight for both of you guys. Just right off in the sunset, knowing that you gave it your all and you're going out on top of the biggest fight. Like, it's just that's what I think.
Yeah. I think if Canelo does stay, if he does continue to fight, the only fight to me that makes sense would probably be like Jamal Charlo. To give like the nostalgia, they were at 1.1 and 2 at 160. If there was ever a time to make that fight, it doesn't move me. But like, if there was a fight, like, he's not gonna fight like Osles Iglesias or Christian and Billy or Lester Martinez. Like I don't like, because like I mean there would be good wins. I don't know what they would add.
All I'm
I don't know
saying
what.
is this. All I'm saying is this. None of those fights really mean anything anymore without a title. Canelo has
Yeah,
0 titles anymore. Like he has. This is the first time. I think it's the first time since maybe like 2014 that Canelo has not held a belt. Like
yeah, somewhere around there.
that's like this pretty insane. It's pretty insane. And like, would a Jamal Charlo fight now make a fraction of what Crawford did? Like, would it be even an interesting payday for him?
They'd have to do that fight in Texas, probably AT&T Stadium or something like that.
I don't know,
That's to
man.
maximize it.
I just don't know. I mean, if Charlo gets a couple more wins, but like,
Well, if I were to put my promoter cap or like sanctioning body cap on, like I'm guessing that if Crawford retires, he's going to vacate all 4 belts. I'm sure the WBA or WBC is going to make that for like the vacant belt. I'm sure like if that's the way things go. Because what WBA has Jamal Charlo ranked number 2, WBC has Jamal Charlo number 3, so they don't even need a. I mean, he probably shouldn't be there to begin with. That's neither here nor there. But but yeah, like it's I feel like that's the only thing that would make sense. That if it'll be for a vacant title, if I had to guess, and
yeah,
yeah,
I forgot about that because if Bud does retire eventually, that means there's gonna be 4 vacated belts, which
yeah,
means that Canelo will
which is
most
great for the
likely.
division because
I
168 is a
mean,
great division. It's been kind of like that's part of like why I've been kind of upset
it's kind of
with
been
the
on
shaft of
hold because
Canelo's
of Canelo.
career. Yeah, because
It's
he's
kind,
been fighting guys who didn't deserve title shots.
yeah. I mean, it's great, but that also means that Canelo's most likely going to get another title shot.
Yeah, but at least he'll have one belt
So,
instead of four.
so I guess he's probably not going to retire. Like honestly, like
Yeah.
Bud winning probably, honestly, it probably elongated Canelo's career. And but honestly, the fight, I think. Do you think the fight delivered?
I think so. It was a good fight. I was just hoping for it to be up for grabs in the championship rounds, which it was. And it kind of like, not to like pat myself on the back or anything, but like when I was talking to my dad, like my guess is that it's going to be close, and then like Crawford's going to like take over in like the final 2 rounds to pull it out and win a clear decision. And that's pretty much how the fight went. So
Yeah, it
yeah.
was a. It was definitely. I think it definitely lived up to the hype.
Hmm.
Definitely lived up to the hype of the main event. What didn't live up to the hype was the co-main event because King Callum Walsh defeated Fernando Vargas Jr. by unanimous decision in arguably one of the most bathroom break fights I've ever watched. Not because of Fernando Vargas Jr. though. I think it's because of King Callum Walsh's performance in the second half of the fight because he was dominating. Let's be honest. He was dominating. He was the harder puncher. He also had a lot more. He was a lot more skillful than I thought he was. You know, fighting at 360 promotion, the quality of opponent wasn't always there for him, but he always had the skills to be, you know, a guy to be that guy for Dana White and 360. He showed it in this fight. I think the timing was really there. He showed he was the stronger fighter, moved really well, but he just took his foot off the gas way too early. He like cruise controlled way too early before even Fernando Vargas was even like in a sense of trouble. And I think that's what kind of disappointed me in this fight because he fought well, controlled the fight, but he could have done more. What do you think?
Yeah, I agree. It was definitely, it's weird 'cause like just looking at CompuBox, it said he threw 876 punches. Did it feel like he threw 876 punches to you? It
Um,
didn't to me. It felt
dude,
like he was very selective with his shots.
I don't
Like
think it was selective.
uh,
I don't think it was
or
selective.
like
What I think it was is he was just like kind of throwing like he was throwing like shots that you think he was like you would think he's setting up like a bigger shot, but it would
yeah,
just not lead up to
it was
anything.
just nothing. Yeah.
Yeah, it was just something like to kind of like pray out there to kind of like gauge range, but it never like amounted to anything. The thing is like he has a lot of power. Like you could tell that he was the stronger fighter. Like you could
For
tell
sure.
that
He looked enormous compared to Fernando Vargas
dude,
Jr.
and the punt like whenever he landed, like especially when he was doing his body work, dude,
Mhm.
the thud on his shots were crazy. It's just it didn't. It was like few and far between
Yeah.
after round six. Like after round six, he was just kind of on cruise control. He was on
Even before
autopilot,
that.
dude. And
He-
I felt like if Fernando Vargas just didn't hesitate a little bit more and just kind of threw
mhm.
caution to the wind, I think he could have like caught Callum Walsh because he was just kind of lackadaisical, like kind of lazy on his movement, kind of lazy with his feet too, towards the late half of the fight. But do you think with this win, did this prove anything for Callum Walsh to you?
Not really. It kind of added more questions. I mean, it's still, I would say, probably the best win of his career, but he didn't necessarily impress. Um, I wish he would have just like, I don't know. I just kind of was left with more questions than answers about him. I don't think, I mean, 154 is also like one of the best divisions in boxing. I don't think, if I had to guess, man, I mean, they got to be careful with him. If I were, yeah, I just he needs a lot more development, I would say. And he's only 15 fights in. He's still what? I don't know. I don't know how old he is, but I think he's
Um,
still got plenty of time. I think just be patient with him and keep on trying to, slowly develop him, I would say, if I
dude,
were
dude, all
his
I'm saying
promoter.
is like I'm looking at the Ring Magazine's top 10 at
He's
154 right
24.
now.
He's 24 years old.
I know, but all I'm saying is Xander Zayas is 22.
Yeah,
Is he?
23.
Is he? You didn't hear me.
That's
I
what,
said.
yeah, yeah.
Do you think he can beat Xander Zayas?
Nope.
Okay, I'm just gonna name off the top 10 outside of Terence Crawford. You think he could beat Abaspero?
Nope.
What about Jesus Ramos?
Nope.
What about Erickson Lubin?
Nope.
Murtazaliev?
Hell no.
Madrimov?
Nope.
Fundora,
Nope.
Ortiz,
Nope.
Boachuk, who also lost today.
Probably not. Nope.
I
That
just
one that would actually be a good fight. That might not be a bad next step for him, I would say.
I just don't think I honestly just don't think this fight, like the performance itself, proved
Yeah.
that he was a top contender. That's really it. I
Yeah.
just don't think that.
It was a great stage for him to like take advantage of this too, and he kind of like just fell flat. But I mean, a lot of prospects who are, you'll have like one of these kind of performances, but it'll be up to him to just kind of like
Yeah.
learn and grow from it.
Yeah. I mean,
He's
here's
got
the
Freddie
thing.
Roach. He's got a
Yeah.
good coach. I
Here's the
mean,
thing.
all
I
time
mean,
great coach.
I'll tell you what though. I mean, there's not a lot of times you get to fight in front of 70,000 fans. So,
Yeah.
if the lights got to him, it's very understandable. I'll never know what that feels like.
Oh hell
None of
no!
us will.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
well, it's
No.
very understandable. But
We would be seated very far away from the action if we were there.
actually, we'd be seated outside of the action, like literally outside of
Yeah,
Allegiant Stadium. We
yeah.
wouldn't even get in. But
Probably not.
let's get to the next fight, because even though this one didn't live up to the hype, the previous one did, because Christian and Billy and Lester Martinez put on a fight of the year contender, a fight where it felt like there was no pause in the action. All those rounds felt so fast. It didn't even feel like 3 minutes passed each round, because they were just in the pocket trading, body blows, throwing heavy leather, man. What'd you think of this fight?
I mean, it lived up to expectations and then some. I think like going in, we knew like this is probably gonna be the best fight of the night, and then like even then, like it still found a way to like reach another level where they just went at it. It was a classic phone booth brawl, and I felt like a draw was fair. I thought like I mean it could have maybe been like 6-4 either way or a draw. I was kind of glad it was a draw because I didn't. The fight was good enough to where I didn't feel like either guy deserved to lose. It was that good. They just phone booth, friggin' both guys trading blows, momentum shifting back and forth. Hated that it was a 10-round fight, especially for an interim title. That's neither here nor there. But yeah,
I'm
hopefully
kind of glad
this
I'm kind of glad it wasn't
yeah,
a 12-round fight, just because of the
because
length
for
of
your
the event.
health, yeah.
Oh my god.
We'd still be watching the card if it was 12 rounds. No, but I'm guessing hopefully the next step is maybe this could be for a full title, it'll be for 12 rounds, and maybe they can find a way to one up this and reach another level. I mean,
It
they
all
definitely
depends on
deserve a shot
it
at
all
the
depends
title.
on what happens with Bud Crawford.
Yeah,
If he retires, then obviously he vacates the belt and Billy becomes full world champion, and that could be the fight to make. Honestly, that has to be the fight to make, because I mean, that fight, no one gave an inch, and the momentum never shifted in anybody's favor. It stayed the same, toe to
yeah,
toe, for 10 rounds. Like literally, it was just them trading on the inside and Billy constantly pushing forward, constantly digging into the body with these like choppy shots, which I thought looked stupid, but like they were very. I mean,
I'm
I don't know
sure
if
they
you
don't
ever.
feel great.
I'm sure they don't feel great, but they're also appealing to the judges. Those were the more eye-popping shots. Like
Yeah,
Lester Martinez definitely had the more the more heavier
cleaner
shots,
shots.
the,
Yeah,
the heavier and cleaner shots, but and Billy had the more eye-popping shots when he throw those choppy flurries. The thing is, I think Christian and Billy really proved something to me in this fight, because I always thought he was good, but he was always fighting guys that were not on his caliber. Besides Selecki, but even Selecki, I don't think is fully on his
no,
caliber.
yeah, and Billy was clearly
This
better.
this was the first time where it was a guy that was in his prime, just like him, undefeated with the utmost confidence, and those guys just implemented their game plan, and no one's will broke. I
Yeah,
think in my mind, I thought it was a draw, but if I had to lean it to one way or the other, I had it for Lester Martinez. I thought the he had the more accurate shots. I think that he was pushing Billy back. It's just the issue was Billy was pushing Martinez to the ropes, and I
yeah.
think that could sway judges in several rounds.
He was on the front foot a lot more than
Hundred
Martinez.
percent, 100%. And I want to show something, Nate. Because you talked about it. 168 pounds is a stacked division.
Yeah,
So we gotta look at it real quick, because look at this. This is the Ring
it's
Magazine's top 10. Look, they already just changed Bud Crawford. They already
it's not.
changed him on the website.
That's my employer now.
Yeah, I know. Shout out to the Ring magazine.
Yeah,
So
love
listen,
them.
Christian and Billy's ranked number 1. Right
Mhm.
now, Lester Martinez is not in the top 10, which I think he should have been a long time ago.
Yeah, maybe if whenever it gets updated, I imagine Shishkin will probably be out. Eh, I don't
Yeah,
know, but I mean, Lester Martinez definitely deserves to be in there.
but like, dude, the dynamic of this division has changed so much in the past 2
Mhm.
months because look at who's in the top 10 now. I mean,
That
obviously Bud
division's
just won.
insane.
Hamza Shiraz, Sararse is still there. You know,
Oh God, no,
Bektemir
no.
Melikuziev is there. Resendez after his upset win against Caleb Plant.
Yeah.
Caleb Plant's still game. This is the dark horse right here, Diego Pacheco. Actually,
I don't
this
even know
is
if I
the
would say
dark
dark
horse right here.
horse. Yo, also
Actually,
this Iglesias will mess some people up.
this is the dark
He
horse right
will.
here.
Mm.
Um, yeah. What do you think after this fight, after Billy and Martinez? What do you think of the state of 168 pounds?
I think it can kind of breathe now, and it's like we'll see what comes next. But I can't imagine Crawford holding on to all 4 belts, and that'll allow some guys to like kind of rise to the top. That's me. Iglesias should be fighting for the IBF title because he just came off the dominant win over Vladimir Shishkin. And
Resendez fights for the WBA title.
yeah, he'll fight. I mean, Bektemir Melikuziev is ranked #1 in WBA. That would be a very interesting fight. Or maybe maybe they'll get Jamal Charlo to fight Resendez, which is I wouldn't complain about that either. And yeah, I mean it's
And
just
then, dude, and then Hamza Shiraz is eventually, I don't know where he's going to
yeah.
fit into all that, but he's going to be. Diego Pacheco is most likely fighting for a WBO belt. Like, that's
Well, I
probably
mean
what's.
Shiraz is right ahead of him in the WBO. If we get Pacheco versus Shiraz next,
Dude.
I might not be able to keep my pants up. I'll
Oh
be
my
very
gosh.
excited. I'll
Well,
be
let's.
very excited.
Well, let's hope you
I'm
do that
kidding.
because
I'm joking.
that would be
I'm joking.
crazy. But like, dude, that was obviously the best fight of the night, like
Oh, for
hands down, right?
sure. Not even
So,
close. Nothing.
So before we go, we just have to go through the fight card results, obviously, because this was a historic fight card, and there was a lot of fights. So obviously, Terence Crawford beating Canelo Alvarez, Callum Walsh beating Fernando Vargas Jr., Christian and Billy and Lester Martinez fell into a split jaw. Muhammad Alakel defeated Travis Crawford by unanimous decision in the opening bout of the main card, improving to 6-0. Fought pretty well. What'd you think of it?
I thought he looked good. I mean, he's very much. I mean, he's still very much in development. He's he's got just got to physically. He's got to get a little stronger. And I think as he learns to like get more like leverage on his shots, maybe he can. Or maybe he's just a guy who's gonna have to just stick and move and box. He doesn't have that kind of power. But overall, I thought he's maturing. He's getting better, and we'll see what's next for him. I mean, it was a solid performance, I would say.
Yeah, I definitely think he's a slick boxer. I think he's a very good boxer. Throws a lot of linear, throws a lot of ones and twos, a lot of straight line punches. I just want to see him against a guy who would like kind of test, who would kind of disrupt his rhythm because he kind of stayed at one tempo the entire time, kind of controlled it. Crawford didn't really give him any sense of urgency, so he kind of fought on autopilot.
Yeah.
I just want to see him step up in competition, but he did look really good in the prelims. To headline, Brandon Adams once again defying the odds, beating Sergey Bohachuk by unanimous decision again in the rematch. Nate, is 154 the division for Brandon Adams?
Absolutely. I mean, I think he's when you look at some of the champions there, like I think he's probably I think some guys might be probably like if I'm like just thinking about how boxing works, they might try to face him, try to like pivot, but they might he's gonna ruin some guys' days if they think they're just gonna get an easy win against him. I mean he handily beat Sergey Bohachuk. Like he just landed the cleaner shots and he was defensively he was slick enough and yeah, that was super impressive. I was not expecting that. I mean, it felt like it was very much meant for all right, Bohachuk's going to get this win back because he could have pivoted towards other big fights, but he was like, oh, I got to get this loss like off my record. I got to avenge it, and instead he went 0-2 against Brandon Adams because he was winning the first fight, so it was just pretty much I'll just fight smarter and it'll just play out well. But Brandon Adams, he's proved a lot of people wrong today, and he should get another big fight because of it.
Yeah, I just think he was just the physicality of Adams, especially on the inside, just out muscling him, throwing a lot of shots around the guard of Boachuk was
Hmm.
the key thing. The body shots and just throwing around the guard. It really slowed down Boachuk,
Yeah,
especially from rounds 8 to 10.
yeah,
Um, really a really solid performance. I think you know, this might be the run where he might get to a world title fight. I honestly think so.
maybe.
And especially in a stacked division like 154, you never know nowadays. I mean, we were just
Yeah,
talking about, last month a Bass Barrow beating Yoenis Tellez. Did most people think that was going to happen?
no,
Probably not. That's just how much talent is in this division. We've talked about it a bunch of times that this is the most stacked division in boxing, and this fight is proven. That fight proved it.
mm, yeah, that
Yeah.
was a and man, what happened? Like, sorry, Bohacek went life and death with Virgil Ortiz. A lot of people thought he did enough to win the fight,
I mean,
and now
it's
it's
just the
just
aftermath
crazy.
of all that,
Yeah.
all those battles. You know what I mean?
It's-
But Nate, in the prelims, outside of the all the fights that we talked about, was there another fighter that stood out to you?
Let me hold on. Let me look. It is 2:51 in the morning, so forgive
That is
me.
true. That is true.
No, they're definitely not the Jermaine Franklin versus Ivan Ditchko. No disrespect to them. Um, Haito Satsumi, I thought he looked. I mean, he looks like he's developing very well. His second fight with Ismail Salas, and he blasted out Javier Martinez in the first round. He's starting to sit down in his shots. He looks like he's starting to get a lot stronger too. So I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if they try to fast track him. He said he wants to fight for a world title around like between like the seventh and ninth fight, and this is like kind of what you have to do to get there. I would say. Um, Raiko Santana got the first round stoppage over Steven Nelson. Very, very questionable, but Steven Nelson was definitely hurt. So, I mean, yeah, those were the two I would say stood out to me.
Yeah, and I just have to give a shout out to Sultan Al Muhammad. He got his first pro win
Mm,
in I think the second or third fight of the night, and he just looked really good. He looked really
yeah,
strong. He's still adjusting to the pro ranks. I mean,
that
luckily,
was his pro debut.
yeah, he's still adjusting. I mean, he still has an amateur style, still throwing a lot of high volume, so he just has to
Mm,
like kind of adjust and kind of just pick his shots a little bit more. But he looked really good. He looked really dominant, and I think it's just really great. But shout out to Jonathan Ramakhan. He is actually driving right now, and he wants us to keep talking because he gets home in 10 minutes. And luckily, I think we can do that just
uh,
because we have
great.
something I like to call the final round, which is pretty much us giving our opinions of the night. So, Nate, I want to start with you. What is your opinions? You can give it about the fight, the night. What is your opinions about the Canelo Crawford card?
I think anytime you get a chance to witness greatness, like you need to appreciate it. And for a while, like Terence Crawford had gone underappreciated just because whether it's opponents, or like inability to get like the top guys in the ring with him. But like now there's like none of that. Like we should like he got the guy who was thought of to be the guy of this era, and he beat him definitively and went up to the weight divisions to do it. So I think we just need to appreciate what we saw tonight in him and Canelo. Because I mean, for a while, Canelo had ran the super middleweight division, and it's just grateful for those two fighters. Like they really carried the sport, and for them to deliver a good fight today, it was a great to watch. And Terence Crawford he's the man. He's a you can never question him again.
Yeah, and I'm going to add on to that because what we had tonight, obviously they talked about it leading up to the fight. We talk about, the third biggest gate in combat sports history, not just boxing, combat sports history. This felt like that. This felt like
Mm.
a big deal. 70,000 people filling out Allegiant Stadium, for boxing, bro. For boxing. You usually see that in the UK, but we did that in the States. We did that in the States. The energy in the crowd for the main event was on 10 for 12 rounds. It was really good. And I was surprised because I really thought after the last three fights where they went the distance, I thought the crowd was going to be dead, especially because
I
those were
wouldn't have
some
blamed
long
him.
rounds. But they were great. I think the presentation that Zuffa Boxing brought was very UFC-esque, which is a breath of fresh air in boxing. Like the entrances felt important. That was
Mhm.
that's my biggest thing is like they made the main event feel important. Sometimes boxing they don't make the little details count, like the entrances or the hype videos or the interviews,
Yeah.
the promos. Those things count when it comes to generating buzz. This is a new formula that you can blueprint to grow the sport. This fight was a lot of tests and a lot of experimenting, and I thought they did really well. And it ended with Bud cementing his legacy, dude. I don't think anyone can doubt him anymore. And I honestly think because there's no more doubt about his legacy, there's no reason for him to fight anymore. There's literally
Yeah.
no reason for him to fight. What else is anybody going to say?
What else can
Dude,
he do? Like,
what
what's
else,
he gonna
what else can he
move up,
do?
move up to 175 and fight David Benavidez?
At this point, go fight Alexander Usyk. I guess go
Yeah,
fight Alexander Usyk.
yeah, fight
Go both.
Jake Paul at cruiserweight.
Uh,
I'm
uh,
kidding. I'm
he's
kidding.
he's
I'm joking.
he's not old enough yet.
Yeah,
He's got to. If Badu Jack is not old enough, he's not old enough
yeah.
yet. But dude, what a great night of fights, man. Before we go, let's just do a hypothetical. If Terence Bud Crawford does not retire after this fight, who's his next opponent?
Oh my goodness gracious! If he
I'm gonna
does,
bring it up again. I'm gonna bring it up again. Boom, 168.
who's
Ring
to say?
magazine.
I mean, I feel like he could kind of go anywhere at this point. I mean, if
Look at
I were
this. Look
him,
at this.
if
There's literally there's like I would say four options because one, two, three, and then if you want to go Lester Martinez.
well, they're stablemates, so I don't think they would ever fight, and like they train
I
together.
know. I know.
So I would. I don't, man. Ooh,
Actually,
it's just like if I were
there's
him,
there's a general consensus for one, two, three, and then Jamal Charlo.
yeah, Jamal. For me, that's the only fight that would kind of makes. I mean, but I don't know. He's a.
No, but
It just
like
really depends with this
let's
chapter
not
of his
no, but
career.
let's not talk about makes sense. What do you want to see next? Like if you were putting your booker hat on, your matchmaker hat on, what's the fight that you're gonna book Terence Crawford in?
It would never happen, but probably like maybe like Hamza Shiraz. I'd probably say
All right.
that's the
So
fight I would book next.
in England,
No, I would do that in Vegas.
in Vegas,
That or Riyadh, I guess.
I guess so. If no politics were involved and I could just freely book, I'm gonna go Terence Crawford versus Oslace Iglesias. I think that's a style contrast that I don't think Crawford has seen, and he's just
Yeah.
so big. He's
He's
huge.
huge for
He,
168.
he's huge for 168, and he has dynamite in his hands, like actual one punch power. Like that's a guy. I think that's the one guy. Actually, him and Hamza Shiraz are the only two guys in the division who have that one punch power, bro.
Yeah.
It's kind of crazy to think. Uh, Anybody else? I guess
I,
Pacheco seems like an
mm,
interesting matchup, but I think Bud could handle him pretty
yeah.
handily. Charlo, just based off their history, but yeah, I mean, Iglesias is the only one that's like the most intriguing to me.
Yeah. That's. I just retired, but like just go out on top, and just freaking retire undefeated. Like that's what I would do, and like retire undefeated as a 5 division and a 3-time undisputed champion. It doesn't get any better than that. Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, listen, that is it for the first episode of the Split Decision Boxing Show. We're going to go live once a week. Me and my boy Nate. Nate, where can they find you on social media?
Oh, you can find me on X at Nate_Marrero. You can also find my work at Ring Magazine, doing a lot of got some stuff coming up this week, leading into I got Brandon Moore versus DeAndre Savage stories on that coming out. Some other stuff that'll be I'll be working on, and yeah, keep on keeping on doing some follow-up stuff on this card, and yeah.
Yeah, and you can definitely find my stuff at the Split Decision on Instagram, on Facebook. It's the Split Decision Boxing. On YouTube, it's the Split Decision Boxing. You can also find my work on KONSI. I have done a lot of work. I usually do keys to victory and I do fight results. But more importantly, stay tuned for the next round of interviews. Off the Hook Boxing Series 2 is coming up September 27th. So we are going to make sure we put out those interviews. We have the Dylan Cushing interview coming out this week. We have a few more interviews in the works. So be sure to tune in. But thank you guys for watching. I am the TSD Alyas. That's my boy Nate. And we are out.